Heather Dunkerley. Thank you so much for joining me today for today's Leadership Expert Insights session with the Real Boss Ladies of Human Resources, where we are going to talk about FMLA from the employer, manager, and employee viewpoint. So I'm really excited to jump into that. Before we get into the Q&A of it all, if you would like to just share a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Absolutely. My name is Heather Dunkerley. I am Vice President of Sales for a professional employer outsourcing organization called Engage PEO. We help small and mid-sized businesses with their HR needs. I also happen to be really proud to be the Vice President of the Greater Crofton Chamber of Commerce, helping that community as well.
All right. Well, we are excited to have you, and we're going to jump in. What if an employee submits an FMLA claim and it's less than 30 days? So that manager has less than a 30-day window to figure out how to shift operations to keep things moving forward. Can they decline it then?
So if an employee has not provided 30 days notice, a manager should not automatically deny FMLA leave. They really need to ask the employee to provide notice as soon as practical.
Mm-hmm.
If the leave is foreseeable, I think we can recognize there might be instances where you might not be able to predict that, and the employee might not be able to give 30 days notice. So the manager should really work with HR to assess the situation and determine the best course of action. The manager should also really ensure that the employee has provided the right documentation to support the FMLA request, and communicate with the employee regarding the timeline for providing any additional necessary documentation. But no, don't automatically deny just because it's within a 30-day window. Recognize that there are going to be valid instances where that might not have been foreseeable.
Yeah. You just said something that's actually taking us into our next two follow-up questions. One of the pieces that you said in not automatically denying the leave was to review the documentation. And we know in this HR space, everything is about documentation, documentation, documentation. What is also important too, when we talk about that documentation, that then becomes a safeguard for the employer. Managers sometimes, and I know because I've had the conversations, the truth is, we know some employees do abuse FMLA and abuse that intermittent component of FMLA. But what helps to safeguard us as an organization is the documentation, and that becomes really key. So just because an employee says, I have this issue, I have this medical issue, or my mother, brother, sister, cousin has this issue, the documentation is still key. And when we talk about FMLA and who is approving it, some employers may do it in-house. Most employers will work with a third party, but that is one of the key components that keeps us safe when we talk about FMLA. Heather, you said something, and I'm going to tap right into where you left off, that the employee needs to work with their manager and HR. I think that is another piece for employees to understand, that when they are requesting to be approved for FMLA, that typically your HR team is the one that is handling that. And so you still want to communicate, of course, with your manager, but the HR team takes that, and in that realm of responsibility, can you share what are some of the things that you've seen HR teams do to help support an employee that is applying for FMLA?
The biggest thing is getting the documentation in place. So letting the employee know what kind of documentation is going to be necessary. That communication regularly with their manager, having HR foster that. But also, there's accommodations that can be made so that the work can be managed, in their absence as well. And so working with HR to be creative about, again, that meeting the needs of the business so that the employee can also take care of what they need to take care of during their FMLA.
This last one is about you as well. If you could mentor your younger self for just one day, what would you focus on, and what would you hope that she remembers the most?
I would hope that Heather would focus more on the importance of resilience and trusting my instincts.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I spent a lot of time doubting myself early on. But now I realize that failure is just a part of growth. And often
Okay.
it really pushes you to your purpose. So I would really encourage my younger self to take more risks, not be afraid to fail, because those experiences are where the biggest lessons are found. And I'd hope that she remembers most that her value isn't defined by her success or failure. It's about her ability to adapt and keep going. So pushing through.